welcome back to the Giant Beastcast. Here we go, episode 266, Thursday or Friday, whenever you're listening to this, 25th or 26th. Joined by Alex Navarro, Abby Russell, Jeff Bacalar.
Hey, Vinny.
This episode is going to be pretty heavy. So we're going to be talking a lot about sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual misconduct. If you are not comfortable with that or would like to not participate or listen to that, this is not the one for you. This is there's other content on the site. I hope you enjoy it. For any reason you're not comfortable with it, duck out. I would also like to say we are talking about this live at the time of this recording, which is not the way I would prefer to have these discussions. I have foot and mouth disease on the best of circumstances in a room with all these people that I like podcasting with on a recorded podcast and doing it live here over Google Hangout is not ideal for us. So I hope people that are listening to this live or listening to the archive will at least take that into consideration if something is said and maybe misconstrued, which it is often misconstrued, or people say stuff that is not taken the right way under the best of circumstances. So please keep that in mind. Whew. The industry is garbage. The world is on fire. So what are we talking about? That all being said, there have been, not just within the games industry, there have been across the board a wave of sexual abuse, sexual misconduct. It's going to be a long one because there are a lot of things to go over here. From within the games industry and outside of it, it's kind of hard to even know where to start. And what we're going to try and cover as much as we can. When about a week ago, kind of this stuff started really coming back up in a kind of a bigger wave. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, I'd say probably last Saturday was when I first started seeing like the first waves of people coming forward and speaking out on a variety of different charges against variety of different people. Again, as you said, not just in video games, but a lot of related industries and other places. You know, pro wrestling has been having a huge deluge of these allegations, especially in the Brit wrestling scene, but in America too. I don't think any corner of entertainment has not had at least a significant deluge of these coming forward over the last week. And
I should say it's never gone away. It's not like this just all of a sudden just happened. A lot of these allegations are spanning sometimes years or sometimes recent. But the number is I would say shocking. I would say disappointing, but it's hard to take in. It is really wild, and they keep coming, and it is not something that has been easy to process, especially as people who work within this industry, and for people who have crossed paths with a lot of people even outside of this industry. If
I could make a recommendation, I would say we should start with the people who have, in fact, crossed paths.
Sure,
with
that's the good place to start as
any.
Yeah, so we had Jack Gallagher. Alex, do you know specifics on the allegations that were there? I saw basically forced assault. Is that basically what it was?
So the one that there's potentially two allegations. The one that was detailed was by a woman who said that Jack attacked her at a party and like followed into her bathroom and like tore at her clothes. And, you know, there was potentially another allegation on top of that, but I'm not sure that specifics have come out beyond that. But within, you know, a day of those allegations, Jack was released from WWE. And he's not the only WWE wrestler, obviously, that has had allegations levied against them, or wrestler, period. But Jack, is the one that I think had spent the most time on this site. He was at one time a member of the community. He has been on our content, both on the podcast and our Game of the Year stuff. And I don't know what else to say about that other than we believe the accusers. We understand where this is the only thing to do in this case to say that Jack will not be appearing on the site again.
Yeah, I think as we go through this stuff, I want to say that Alex, I think you do a fantastic job of, when you book shows, of trying to do your best to maintain safe spaces here within Giant Bomb. Nobody, if we ever thought anybody was capable of this stuff, would never let them on the site. So some of this is pretty shocking.
Yeah. I mean, as the person who goes through and books a lot of these guests and brings a lot of these people in, I do my best to try and make sure that, I'm looking into them and making sure that, no one has told me anything about them, their behaviors that would jeopardize the trust the community has in us in bringing people to the site. And I don't have a good answer for, when things like this come up, when these kinds of allegations come out about people that we have embraced, that we have brought onto the site, other than to say, I'm sorry that they got passed and that they were allowed to, become a part of this community, to become part of the Giant Bomb. I don't know the right word. I don't know what to say other than canon. They've been in our content and they've been on our site and they've been. And I've said it before. I think a lot of people, when they see us bring people to the site, they see that as us vouching for them. And my goal always is to try and make sure that the people who do come to our community are ones that are only going to bring positive experiences for people. And I take it very personally when that trust and that notion is betrayed.
And we there's a pretty long history with Giant Bomb. The stuff. So Max Temkin was also I had allegations against him, and we continued to do panels with him. And there's a million things to say about maybe how those came about, but the real thing is we messed up. It was a bad call, and I think have tried to get better. We've tried to listen to people. We've tried to grow. And tried to make safer places within our community for that. And it's absolutely the wrong call. And you can take that as hindsight. And I understand if people are not happy with that association and that even acknowledging that bad call is not enough. I understand that. I get it. And he has been now since, though still affiliated in some way with Cards Against Humanity, not in a leadership role there. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he as a co-founder of the company, he is still, I believe, entrenched as a shareholder. He still owns a piece of the company, but he is no longer, as I'm to understand, involved in day-to-day operations and is no longer leading the company. Yeah,
and also, do not put the sins of us who were here on people who came in after that. Abby was not here. Jeff Bakalar was not here for any of that.
Yeah,
and also been. Strong critics of that stuff. So please, those are our sins, and take responsibility for those, and acknowledge that it was absolutely the wrong call. And I think we've tried to work better at doing.
I will also say, in my tenure here, this doesn't necessarily excuse past behaviors. And again, this is all behind closed doors, not spoken to in front of the audience. But in my tenure here, we have had conversations about not using the games Max Temkin has made on our streams. We have made conscious choices to try and avoid those games when we can. That doesn't excuse anything. But sometimes it's a slow pulling away from these things, which again is not an excuse for it. But these conversations were being had. They just weren't being had publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was Jeff Gersman put up a post on Twitter. I don't know if I ever made it to the site that you can read about more of his personal views into how some of that stuff came about, and I don't want to go into it here because it'll sound like excuses, and I really want to say it was a bad call. It was.
We don't have an excuse. All we have is an explanation, and
an explanation.
I think if people.
And I think also a responsibility to make sure that we take away from that, trying not to make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, I think speaking
more
of
to talk
making
about.
mistakes again, there are other people who are named. One is Matt Pasquale. Matt, his ex, basically accused him on Twitter of emotional abuse. And I will start by saying, Matt is my friend. I hope, I'm going to try to speak with some nuance here, and I hope that people are understanding of that. But Matt is my friend, and as Matt's friend, I want to fucking hold him accountable. I think that as someone who is maybe doesn't know anyone involved, it's very easy to hit an unfollow button on somebody and never deal with them again, right? And for me, I think it's also probably easy for me to hit an unfollow button on Matt and ice him out, but I don't think that is the most productive thing for me to do right now. And right now, as his friend, I want to hold him accountable, and I want to make sure that he is doing better. I don't know what happened in the situation. I will never know what happened. It is not for me to decide what will happen here. It is also not for me or anyone to decide what is or is not abuse. And quite frankly, I think Reddit threads maybe debating what is or isn't abuse about specific allegations are actively harmful, I will say. But as Matt's friend, I would like to think I can be Matt's friend and hold him accountable for his actions, but that doesn't mean I will still have a working relationship with him. Because right now it is important for me to also make Giant Bomb a welcoming community for people. And it doesn't, I don't want anyone to feel like they can't come to me if I am working with someone who has harmed them. I don't want people to feel like this isn't a welcoming place for them to come to because of who we are friends with. I do not want that. But I think, I think that these issues are very loud in these kind of public spaces, in our job in the gaming industry, in the wrestling industry, in the movie industry, because we are in some ways public figures. But I don't think that these are problems that are only in our communities. I think these are problems that are in every aspect of society. Sexism and racism is ingrained in our culture and ingrained in our society. And you have to hold your friends accountable. I hope that the people who are passionate about this online are also passionate about it when looking at their friend group and calling their friends out for their shitty jokes or the shitty things they say. And I hope that they are just as passionate about looking at their own biases and trying to counteract them. I don't know. I
think
feel
that's really well
I'm a little on a soapbox here, but
no, I think that's extremely well said. Yeah, I think I want to echo the sentiment that we absolutely want to encourage people. I want to state for the record, there are two facts I think we all believe here, and everybody who is listening should understand that there is a systematic problem of men taking advantage of their positions of power in companies, especially with women, to abuse them sexually, emotionally, verbally. And there is a too long history and an ongoing history of not believing people who make accusations and trying to wipe them away. So those indisputable fact. We're not here to litigate that at all. And
I do want to make it very clear. I don't want to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I want to make it very clear that I am always inclined to believe the accusers, because the accusers always have more to lose. Always. I think that the hard truth with a lot of this is a lot of these people who are being accused today will walk away and be absolutely fine. Max Temkin, most people are not on Twitter. They will not probably see this. Most people who buy his games in the store will not know who made them and will not know what their money is contributing to. And yes, he may have a different job. He may have a different group of friends, but these people are probably going to be fine, which is why it's so important to look around you and try to fix these problems within your own groups. And that is part of why this is such an issue now, is because people kept working with Max because they looked to their left and they looked to their right and they said, well, they seem fine with it. And everybody was doing that and no one was speaking up. And I don't always know if being loud on Twitter is the most you can do. I think that is part of it, sure, but I think it's also just like talking to people and like being like, why did you say that? That's a weird, shitty thing you just said. Or like, why do you believe that? Like, I think these are conversations, you know, and I think right now for me with Matt, it is a conversation. And I don't know what happened. I'm very disappointed that Matt has not publicly said anything yet. I wish I could point to something and be like, and speak to that, but I can't. Right now, there's nothing I can say to that. And that is disappointing to me as his friend. And I don't know.
Yeah. And I think I'll echo again what you said before was for Giant Bomb, our goal is to make sure to enforce that if anybody ever feels uncomfortable making an allegation against somebody who's close to the site, or I do not want to feel like they can't do that. Like there's absolutely 100%. I don't know how to express it. Again, doing this live sucks. We want to encourage people to feel like they are in a safe place to make those allegations, especially to us, especially to people who are associated with people on the site, about us, about anybody associated with the site, and know that it'll be taken seriously, and that this community does not foster that, and does not harbor that. You know, we are not. I do not want to work at a place where that feels like a safe harbor, or that we are not willing to look in the circle to say, are we the problem, or are we part of the problem? And a lot of those conversations happen behind closed doors, and in self-evaluation. And we try to keep, like I said at the beginning, I think Alex does a fantastic job of discussions when it comes time to bring people on for our shows. And we try to bring people who also share those values. And sometimes, I know, Alex, that gets hard because there are people we don't know that well who make games that are at big companies, and sometimes companies want to send people and we don't know who these people are. And that's a lot of work. We've talked to Alex a lot about this, but like, it's a lot of work. It's very stressful.
It is, but at the same time, you know, as much as I don't want to make that seem like my job is that much of a struggle in that regard, because in the end, it's what matters. Like, as much work as that may be, it's what's important to me about the job and what's important to me about the community. Like, if we aren't willing to struggle to make sure that we are doing our best to make sure we have all the information we possibly can before we bring someone, you know, into the fold here, then we don't deserve to have that community. Like, and that to me it's a vital component of the whole thing. And while these names, you know, ultimately got past, you know, the checks and balances, because a lot of this information just wasn't out there in a way that I was able to find, or at least, you know, that had never been told to me. It doesn't matter, because in the end, it's still on me, and it's still on us to make sure that we're doing the best we can. And so, you know, like, I'm not here to flagellate myself about it, but I am here to say that, like, I'm recognizing that these people slip through the cracks, and I will do my best to ensure that it does not happen again.
And I will say, the stuff with Matt Pasquale, it's not Matt Rory. I want to be sure I just don't say Matt.
Yeah.
If people are tuning in. It most assuredly is more complicated than the surface level of it. Most these things usually wind up being that way. But I think at some point, I think, like Abby said, there's a working relationship as well. And I think if that narrative changes, I'll apologize to Matt. Like, I don't want to apologize if we've in my life and here have made errors in judgment, and I think at this point I will apologize to him if that's a mistake and these things wind up changing. But I think, you know, I want to keep that space here as open as possible. I think having people that are uncomfortable with those things floating in the air is I don't think it's the right thing to do. And that's the moment.
We should also talk about Chris Avalon.
Alex, why don't you kick that one off? This is, and also this doesn't close the door on some of the stuff. This will be ongoing conversations. I'm not sure how much of it will bleed back out here. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of talk.
And there are also reasons why we maybe can't always speak about it publicly. I know that could be very frustrating for folks, but I feel like I see folks being like, why aren't they talking about it all the time? It's like, we're still figuring this out. We are having conversations constantly. Sometimes you can't talk because it's not your story to tell, or because legally you can't, or whatever reason it is. Like, there are reasons why, we can't always just dissect everything we're dealing with on a podcast every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, just from a personal note, I can't litigate this stuff. I'm not versed in abuse. I am not. I can only speak to this stuff from very personal and very and what I see, and I'm not an investigative reporter. This is a lot of what you hear is just raw and personal.
It's also, I don't think it's really anyone's job, aside from the people directly involved. I don't think it's their job to decide what is and isn't true. Like, I don't think it's anyone's job to litigate that. I think that it is your job to hopefully take people at their word and hold people accountable, and also make sure there is a safe space. And that's why, like, with Matt, it doesn't matter what is true or not true. And that's not just, I don't want to diminish anything here, but at the end of the day, like, I want to make sure this feels like a safe space for people. And like, if somebody is saying like, you are making me feel unsafe by having this person on, that is enough for me. That is enough for me. And like, I can deal with whatever else, but there are always more people we can pull for fucking like guests on our shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I don't think people come forward with these a lot. And again, I think the people who do come forward with them have more to lose than the person who can no longer sit on our fucking couch at E3. You know what I mean?
Yes, and
like, I don't know. I hope the nuances of that make sense to people. But
yeah, and I think the having, unfortunately having a long wake on Giant Bomb, the risks of making the wrong call are terrible. You give platform to somebody who can then possibly branch out and use that to inflict more pain or harm. Avalon.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah. So Chris Avalon, who has been in this game industry for a very, very long time, has a long history of writing major games in this industry, has had multiple allegations lobbed against him over the course of the last week. They range from just wildly inappropriate, talking and behavior to straight up trying to get women drunk and, blackout drunk and sleep with them. And at this point, he has not really addressed the allegations except to apologize sort of to one of them on Twitter, and then basically went radio silent after that. Companies that are working with him right now, either it seemed like they are trying to figure out what to do. I think he's been taken off of one particular project, but I don't know about like Dying Light or other stuff. But, Chris was on our E3 show last year, and I don't remember if he had been on the site prior to that or not, but I know that I booked him last year. And, that's another case where I regret it. I regret bringing him into the fold. The allegations are disgusting, and it's hard to know how to respond other than to say, well, again, this man will not appear on Giant Bomb content ever again.
Yeah, and boy, that reaches far. And that to me is again one of the very clear examples of not only abuse in power, but that power being able to possibly hide. Again, the allegations hide a history of abuse and keep people's career in your hand, as alleged, by staying quiet, and that is and especially with men in power. And women. There are going to be more. There are going to be more people that have crossed our couch, and I want to believe that we will be able to check that, and when it happens, call it out. We will we will probably make mistakes along the way. It will always certainly be too long for some people. But I think we're trying. I think. Yeah. Some of this stuff is harder than other stuff, and sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. The thing is, the sheer volume of allegations is fucking staggering. Like the number of allegations that are all over this industry, from people, from Twitch streamers to developers to business leaders. It's wide ranging. It's in media too. The allegations about the former leadership at IGN have come up again. The allegations being directed at Ubisoft alone would be staggering by themselves, but they're obviously not the only company that is getting this right now. But just the number of people who have been spoken of in regards to these kinds of allegations around Ubisoft in particular is just galling beyond words. Like, it is unbelievable.
It is very wide ranging, and we even talked about how do we address this before the show, and like the list of stuff is even within the games industry is incredibly long. The Ubisoft stuff, there's some leads in there. It was one of the leads from Valhalla had a accusation, right?
The creative director.
Yeah. There have been accusations against people. Some of the stuff, some new, some old. Across, I've seen stuff in. Obviously, all the Twitch stuff. There's stuff that is touching. Some of this has been out already. Some of the IGN stuff, and I think there's more to come, for sure. Absolutely, this stuff. It's weird to think of it as waves of this stuff, but I think some of it encourages other people to speak out that may have felt very scared and uncomfortable. So I understand how that happens. It's hard to look at, and it's necessary to look at, and it's hard to parse, and it's hard to try and filter, and not just be fed up with the whole thing, and makes doing this job disappointing on some levels. This spans a lot of industries, so a lot of us got into this because these were the safe spaces for us, and that dynamic, even in the time that I've been doing this, and Alex, you've been doing this a long time, Backler, you've been doing this a long time, Abby professionally hasn't been doing this a long time, but been playing games in the space for a long time, so maybe even a more interesting perspective. That space has changed. That dynamic of that space has changed from an office full of young white guys to be more inclusive in that space. And it doesn't mean those people weren't playing games before. It means they were not in those positions to have a voice in coverage and the way games were made. And that's changed, and that's great. And there has been pushback against that, real pushback against that, and power struggles and dynamics. And over the last 15 years, even going to events, you see it's great. It's probably one of the best things I see when I go to events to see a more diverse, I'm not going to say a diverse, but a more diverse crowd at those events, and people speaking and acknowledging that stuff. But it's important to see how those dynamics play out when people feel like they are not having a fair shake of it, when it's not a fair playing field, or when there's abuse in those places. And
I think it's also important to acknowledge that the safety of the space, and with the exception of some people, I think for a lot of people was a falsehood. Inevitably these spaces, that rot didn't just come out of nowhere. That rot was there. And for a lot of people who sought, say, for instance, video games as a space to, to find a community, to find friendships, to find relationships, to find a way to exist in the world, that that safety was a lie. And I think that a lot of this is about reckoning with the reality of what this space has provided people versus what the illusion of it was.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I will also say, and this is not to tut anybody, but I am not as, I think, surprised by a lot of this, because I think I live it a little more. This shit's always been happening. I think people are only just now feeling empowered to speak up about it, and it's only because they can do it in a group, which is why it seems so shocking that it's all coming at once. But it's the power of numbers, truly. But this did not start this week. This did not start this year. This has been going on forever. I would say it's probably, it's heightened, I think, because there are more people in the industry who are not just like a straight white man. But at the same time, like, that's always been happening, and we need to make sure that these are welcoming spaces for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, if you're listening to this and any of that sounds absurd to you, the games are better for it. The game also, you're kind of a shit person, but the games are the games are better for it. I have had a much over the last 20 years. If you look at the games you were able to play versus the games you're able to play now, like having different points of view, different people of all walks of life being able to publish games has made this space better. Has made you still get your games. You will still get your Call of Duty. And now we can all get other games as well. Like it's made the entire space better, and people want to fight about that for some reason. Like people, it's felt bizarre to me to wave that banner because nothing has. It feels completely additive most of the time. Like it has added a lot. There's so much. I don't really know how else to kind of dig in here.
Sometimes it's a little frustrating for me when it feels like the audience wants like a fast answer, a fast solution right now, because we cannot offer that. Like this is something that everybody, not just in this industry, out of it, needs to deal with every day for the rest of their life. Like this is an ongoing problem that cannot be solved by like tweeting out how, the part you played in it. Like, yes, that is a part of it. That is absolutely a part of it. But like, that is a small part of a bigger picture. This is an ongoing thing that everyone will be dealing with forever, or at least you should be. Like, if you think that by the time this quiets down on Twitter and you've washed your hands of it and it's gone, you're not paying attention and you're not doing the fucking work, because this is going to go on forever.
Yes. And like you said, I think kind of has been forever.
Yeah.
I can't just stare off into space for a podcast. We will take a break. I don't know if there's more to say about it. I think if not the information, I hope the sentiment from us has gotten out there. At the very least, we will take a break, probably a little bit longer. If you're watching this live, if you're not watching this live, if you're watching this recorded, this is going to be, we're going to try and do the rest of this podcast. There is some other news to go over. We will do emails. There will be a bit of whiplash. If you are watching this, I think we're going to all go to get a glass of water, take a couple of minutes here. Because we are, like Abby said, this continues to go on. It's not like we just talk about this and it stops. This has been in all of our brains for at least all of our brains that were already saturated with a bunch of other stuff that was not how does the jump feel in Mario? A bunch of real fucking shit. So it's a lot. But yeah, we're gonna take a break. I encourage you maybe to also take a break, and we're gonna be back. Let me queue up the break here. I don't think I have this queued up. Let me see. I also had to reinstall all this stuff on my computer. It's been a time. All right, here goes the music, and then we will go to a break. So hold on one second. Thanks everybody. Thanks Abby. Thanks Jeff. Thanks Alex. And thanks everybody who's watching it.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute here. Let's install. Yeah. Hi. Here we go. Okay.
I was going to talk about Jeff's dog. Unless you're ready for the music.
I'm ready. Here we go. Thanks
Thanks
for the help. This is why I trust you guys. Ready? All right, we are back. And now we have what possibly is a very awkward transition into some, well, definitely is into other news, which I will say off the bat here, none of us had been thinking about other shit. So as we go to try and skim these news articles very quickly for what happened in the rest of the world, please bear with us. Because we know something happened and we're going to try and talk about it a little bit here, like Mixer and Facebook. Yeah, right? Remember, everybody,
what the fuck?
Everybody saw something like that kind of happen and then was like,
So Mixer's gone, Facebook streaming is in. That's basically it, right?
There you go.
Well, saying it's in is maybe overstating it, but it is. They are at least trying to make it in.
It is a thing.
Yeah. So
well,
this is baffling.
Sad to share gaming memes now, political gaming memes.
So what is the top level line on this? It is Mixer and Facebook are Microsoft is transitioning off of Mixer to basically bring their stuff to Facebook Gaming. That's the log line on this. Mixer itself. Mixer itself is going to go away. That will integrate into Facebook Gaming. Microsoft was making plays for Twitch streamers, like Ninja had not too long ago announced that he was going over to Mixer for a lot of money, and I guess those plays didn't really work out, or they did work out. I'm sure Facebook had a lot of money involved. I don't know the business side of this.
Well, it worked out for those guys.
I guess if they got their money.
Yeah, they get paid out.
Yeah, they get paid out. I mean, especially in the case of someone like Ninja, the audience never really followed him fully. Like as much as he made a big show of moving his whole platform over to Mixer, the numbers he just never pulled in the same way as he did on Twitch. And my understanding, I don't know a lot about behind the scenes Mixer stuff. I've heard a few things here and there, but the thing I'd always gathered was that Microsoft, at the very least, was going around telling people that they were very dedicated to making this thing work in some way or another. And I think that if you go back and you look at the way they went about talent acquisition last year, this reads very much as this was their last attempt at doing something meaningful with that platform. And when that did not manifest the numbers that perhaps they wanted it to, they just didn't have the wherewithal or the interest in continuing to push that thing in the face of Twitch.
So Phil Spencer's been out there kind of talking. There's an article on Polygon that I was kind of quickly trying to scan over. And there are some things there that he's getting out there saying, Mixer and Facebook. I mean, clearly Phil's going to be like, it's a good match and we're going to be able to focus on the launch of the Xbox Series X. But there's a comment there that said, basically saying, here's Phil. I believe this is Phil saying, we've got a big console launch coming up this year. We've got a launch of Project xCloud this year. Got a lot of great games coming out. So for us, when I think about the areas we're investing, when I think about our continued growth of console and off console, when I think about our investments in our first party studios, which Microsoft has acquired quite a bit.
They did. They bought a bunch.
Yeah. And the incredible growth that we've seen there, and us continuing to stay focused on xCloud, and the future we see the ability to play, stream games from Azure data centers, it is a decision that I need to make in order to focus the organization. That's a lot of words that don't have a lot of clarity. I think some of the people are saying, or some of the concern is, what do you do with the communities? Are you then going to mix Mixer and Facebook communities, which could be oil and water? And I think some of the statements are that they don't necessarily have to. So I don't know. We'll see how that works out. Facebook has a large reach. Mixer didn't seem to grab hold. Facebook also has not necessarily, Facebook gaming. I don't know. What is Facebook gaming? I'm sorry. I'm old.
Gaming?
I know about YouTube gaming and I don't ever check it, but I don't really know about Facebook gaming.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's that dissimilar, but Yeah, it is not a thing that I frequent either.
I guess I'm
Yeah,
old.
and I think
I should know about
reason for
Facebook
that.
gaming. Maybe I'm too young to know about Facebook gaming. Let's go with that one.
No. The problem isn't on you. It's that Facebook gaming is a nebulous entity within the greater scope of what Facebook does, and I don't know that I don't know anything about it because I can't remember the last time Facebook gaming put something forth that anyone felt the need to really pay attention to. Like, they are essentially a money hole, as far as I can tell, where talent sometimes goes and investments sometimes go. But like, in terms of the actual value and what they actually bring to the gaming industry, I can't think of a whole lot of evidence of stuff that makes Facebook gaming sound like it matters. And, I'm just going to say this right now. If you were thinking about using Facebook as a platform for anything in 2020, maybe fucking rethink that.
I mean, there are definitely a lot of people on Facebook. Facebook percentage-wise is very, very high in terms of reach, but I can't deny what you just said. I can only.
I feel like I got off Facebook a long time ago. I feel like it's just like moms who are on Facebook now. Maybe I'm not.
Well, that's accurate, because the only person I use Facebook to talk to is my mother.
There are definitely a lot of small businesses that I understand are on will be on Facebook. It's got a ton of reach. I don't know. I should delete my Facebook account. It's a shell account that I use for invites for like weird family stuff that sometimes I don't see. Then I never check, and then I say because I didn't see it. Oh, I didn't see that.
I just want to put that out there. Like, my wife is still on it and complains to me about it on a daily basis. She's a mom, but yes, I mean, there is like motherly and fatherly and parentally things you can do on Facebook that maybe perhaps look, if it's beneficial, more power to you. But for me, getting rid of it was like, I don't know, sizing down.
I feel like Facebook, in my experience, has been all drama in like the worst ways. I think that if they would have partnered with TikTok, I think that would have been a much cooler move. You would have got a fun young audience. Would have like 15 seconds of gaming clips. Who doesn't want that?
It is horrifying digging back into your past for me personally. Just seeing some of the diarrhea that's coming out of some people's mouths that I used to know. So get rid of it.
I hear a lot of people, and I think they genuinely feel like it has, and so I will support that. Feel like they keep them connected with people they normally wouldn't be connected with. I'm not going to make any arguments against that. I understand that is as a social outreach thing, but I kind of will echo the sentiment that there's a lot of caveat and cruft and bad stuff that comes along with having all that going on Facebook. But any social media platform also has that.
Yeah. Let's be clear. There's no good social media platform. It's just that Facebook has regularly held themselves up as among the worst.
I mean, even let's just put a line in there and say there's a whole other door. There's a lot of metaphors here. There's another door you could open up and be like, also has Facebook with political advertising ruined our democracy. And I'll leave that door closed.
It didn't help it.
And I'll leave that door closed. And we'll go on to, hey, one other thing I want to say that's not that door is that it should not be forgotten that Microsoft's I love saying this, Microsoft's backend, their ass. Microsoft has a backend. Microsoft had Azure, which is like a pretty similar to other data streaming services, and so that makes it very building Mixer off the back of that, and then being able to take the front end away and say we have all this technology. We can just plug that in.
They referred to it internally. They're like, Azure, the ass of Xbox. If you will.
Yes, I mean you're not far off. The name is Azure. It's Azure. Azure. So that makes a little more sense when it's just like, hey, they didn't just spin up this front end model. They have all this back end technology that then can plug into other places. Like xCloud. All right. Other things that we saw come through that probably we only have a loose understanding of because of being torn into tatters is this Animal Crossing thing.
Oh, I can speak to this a bit.
What's up?
So they released a video about an Animal Crossing update coming July 3rd. And this update had some stuff that was rumored and some stuff that was in the 3DS Animal Crossing, which is the big thing that they revealed in this is now you can go swimming. So it seems like, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but I'm assuming from this video and how it worked in the 3DS version was you would buy a little swimsuit and then you could go into the water, and then you could like dive for like cockles and shit. You know, like mollusks.
Sure.
Correct.
Mollusks.
How do you say it? I don't know how.
Mollusks.
Dive for little like sea stars, sea urchins, that kind of thing that you wouldn't necessarily fish for, but you could dive for. So that is a new thing, and you can donate to the museum just like you could the other stuff, and they will show up in the museum. And it's a new thing to do, which is fun. And it seems like they're adding a couple more characters. One that was in previous games, which is Pasquale, who is like the otter guy. I don't fully remember what he did in other games. I think it was similarly in the 3DS version when you were like swimming around, he'd be like, "Hey, what'd you get? Like maybe I can have some of that," because he's an otter and he wants to eat them. And then also it looks like Gulliver, who is the guy who like washes up on the beach.
What a waste of
They're
time.
having, a version of him that is a pirate.
Okay.
What I don't know what that will really change. But that is like the first summer update, and it looks like they're going to have another one in August, and I'm not sure what that will entail. I have heard rumors that they're going to add farming.
That's
is
cool.
That true? I don't know.
I don't make it more like Harvest Moon. Yeah, let's go. I'm ready. I want to farm. I need a reason to check back in on that game. You know what? They were going to add one more thing that you didn't talk about, which is the ability to change who owns the island. Which they're not going to add.
Really?
No, they're not.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
You got me. I was like, cool.
Sign my petition.
If I can lodge one complaint here, because that's what I know how to do at Animal Crossing, despite the fact that I play it all the time. It's great that you can go swim in the ocean. Now let me get into my pool. Let me get into my bathtub, for the love of God.
Yeah, seriously. Why could I don't know. Sometimes I think when I go to try to interact with that stuff, I'm like, I can turn this blender on, but you're not going to let me go like touch the water in the bathtub. It just turns it on and off. Or like, I do like that you can flip the seat up and take a pee or a poop on the toilet. Yeah.
And
that's pretty good.
That.
And then when you get off of it, it flushes. That's all right. But like, why give me a swimming pool if nobody can even go in it? At least have them like dip their toe in it. Maybe that's a whole other animation. I don't know.
If we are complaining about Animal Crossing,
Always.
I log on every single fucking day just to dig up these damn fossils, just to get the one I have left and one I need. And I've been doing it for weeks. I will never get that damn fossil. Every time freaking the owl is like, "Oh, I would love to buy these off of you. Gonna have to resist though."
Here. Hopefully this makes you more angry. They know. They know that you need that one. All the data's there. They know. That's why they keep you coming back. They won't put it there.
What worries me is I spent so much time building like this cliff next to like a river, and it took forever because it's like hard to get like a river and a cliff kind of close to each other, but I managed it. But there's one section that is just one square that has a fossil in it. And I can only stand on that square, but I cannot dig underneath the thing I'm standing on.
That's the one.
So I'm like, is this the fossil? I don't know how the code works. If it's like, you got the fossil there, it won't spawn again because you got it right here. But I am like, it's driving me wild. I can't.
Not to poke that particular nerve, but we finished our fossils. We got them all.
Congratulations.
Oh no.
Sorry.
I haven't turned on Animal Crossing in weeks, and it feels great. Since we didn't talk about the games we're playing, I will say very quickly here while we're talking about the games we have been playing. I'm finishing up The Last of Us, the Left Behind. The pack.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I love it so far. I mean, I'm surprised. Everybody seemed to really like that one. Also, I think I'm not sure how far along I am in it. And I was trying to.
Not long. I feel like you can finish it in a couple hours.
It's like 8. I think it's maybe like more like 6. Yeah, but I think it's a few hours at least.
A long time ago I played it, but not taking that long.
I'm really liking it so far. I think it's probably where it's so funny because it's not hilarious, but it's amusing to me because it is. Everybody talking about The Last of Us 2 and basically how oppressive and dark it makes it, and this one is pretty upbeat for the most part, or at least the parts I've been playing. It's like this kind of story of, these characters trying to sort through their problems, but it's dark and it's set in the backdrop is obviously pretty dark, but so far I've enjoyed it. I haven't walked away being like, oh man. So
I think
this might be my appetizer. I'm not sure where I come out on the other end of this. I'm ready. I bought The Last of Us 2. I just haven't booted it up yet.
Yeah. It's going to be a little bit of a departure, from Left Behind. I think because Left Behind is like very story driven, very pleasant, I think, despite a lot of the stuff around it. I do think Left Behind, highly recommend everyone plays it. It is not only my favorite piece of DLC, but it is like one of my favorite games in general. I think it's a really sweet game. Shall we talk about Last of Us 2 though?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's use this moment.
Yes, Abby. Let's just scroll through my fucking text messages and just get down.
I have been live texting Jeff about everything.
Can I say that I have enjoyed our conversations deeply? They make me laugh. They make my wife laugh. So there you go.
I can only assume. I keep texting Jeff with my predictions for how it's going to end, and I assume that every prediction is correct.
that sounds fun.
I have been, especially when maybe it's a little later at night, I have been sort of giving you, I feel like, very curt answers of like, just wait.
Dun, 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 or like, okay.
Just dot, dot, dot.
Like, LOL.
What do you think so far, Abby?
So I'd say probably like 20 hours into the game, I think. 20 hours.
That sounds like a
lot. I've reached a somewhat major turning point in the game in a lot of ways. I'm like going to try to avoid spoilers. So I have mixed feelings about the game. I will say overall I'm enjoying it. I think I love the combat in these games. I love the shooting in them. It feels very weighty, and it feels like what I assume real shooting feels like, in the sense that it like feels imprecise and like it doesn't feel super easy. It's just sort of like, I hope I get it, and like when you do, it's satisfying.
It makes you panic a little bit, right?
It does, yeah, which I really like. And at first when I was playing it, I was like, I do think the pacing is a little bit weird, and I'm not a huge fan of the pacing in the sense that it feels like, especially in like the first 10, 15 hours or so, it feels like you're kind of getting like a drip feed of the story with like a few combat encounters, like a few brief combat encounters with like an hour of exploration and looting. Like that's kind of felt like the pace of a lot of it, which like I didn't hate. I like the looting. I like the little story stuff I pick up as I'm playing it, but I was surprised by it because the pacing seems weird. I like the game. I'm very curious to see where the story goes. So this is like, I don't think this is a spoiler. It's in the trailer. It's like the start of the game. A lot of the game is about the relationship between Ellie and her girlfriend, or this girl in this game. And it is like a queer storyline, which is fun and cool. And there's also this other character.
Well, keep in mind, people might be on total blackout from trailers and stuff. So I'm just gonna say that as somebody who also has not watched. I know.
The game's also been out for a while.
Yeah, I
think my thing. Okay, I'll try to be vague.
Earmuffs.
No, I'm not saying it for me. I just, I also have not seen. I somehow avoided seeing some of it too. Plus, my memory is terrible. I did know the stuff you said already.
Avoid everything, but it seems like they deal with queer characters and potentially deal with trans characters, and like this is a game that is very brutal. This is a game where everyone kills everyone, but there are also tropes related to queer characters and trans characters about being killers and being murderers and being psychopaths. So like part of me is like, I'm excited to see fully realized queer characters in a game, but I'm nervous to see how it's going to end. I'm nervous to see how they're going to handle it. And I wish that there was more representation elsewhere. So that way in this very violent game, they could tell the story they want to tell that happens to be violent. That's not just perpetuating more of the same tropes we've already seen a million times.
And one thing I will add to that is that, so I'm not as far along as you are, and I haven't necessarily seen some of the stuff that's been talked about, but I have seen some commentary from trans critics being very critical of the way that the game goes about handling some of those characters and the way that they are treated within the context of the story.
And so far in my gameplay experience, there hasn't been an explicit mention of a character being trans, but every choice that is made in the design and the writing of the game is intentional, right? So I think it is easy to interpret it that way. I have trans friends who absolutely see this character as trans. And I think even if you don't, there's probably going to be the question of that. And I think it is an intentional choice by them to make this character look a certain way. And for that character to also be the antagonist, I think is maybe a misstep on their part. And I think it's a shame that we don't have other representation in other games and other media that have positive representations of these types of people, and just like people in general, and like all of their kind of nuances, because I worry that these are just going to perpetuate more icky tropes. But I haven't finished it yet. I'll see where it goes. Everyone said by the end they were really happy. I think right now it's kind of getting to a point that I'm like, well, I know where this is going, and now I got to like see through this whole thing, like kind of knowing, like I can see what the game is doing to try to manipulate me emotionally, and I think that makes me laugh a little bit, and it's not working. I think for me, I also think 20 hours in, I have not hit a point that I have felt what everyone's talking about, like, oh my God, it's so violent, it's so brutal, this and that. So I don't know. I'm curious about it, just like haven't gotten there yet. Like, it's definitely violent, it's definitely brutal, but not any more so than any other Last of Us game I've played, I feel like. I mean, it's like kind of shockingly realistic because it does look so good. It's so
I think that's more what it is. I mean, it certainly is what it is for me. It's not that it's like more violent than the first game was, because the first game was just replete with violence. Like, that's not even in question. It's just that the fidelity of it and the way that it's delivered in this game. And again, I think a lot of it has as much to do with the timing of its release as it does the actual content of what they are putting forth. Like, the other Last of Us, I also had, problems getting through when I was going through a depressive bout because it was just too much. But it's not that I think this one is differently violent. It's just that they are rendering it in a much more excruciating level of detail. And I think that, given the moment and given the way that I think a lot of our mental health, kind of has been over the last few months, like me butting my head against this thing. And the reason I've been moving so slowly through it is because I just can't take it in large doses. And I'm not someone who shies away from violence. Like, I love hyper violent horror films and all kinds of shit. Like, I can deal with gore. It's not bad.
Campy violence in most hyper violent horror films, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's more probably what you're referring to. This is not campy violence.
No.
This is like, this feels very real.
It feels very real. It feels very real, and it lingers in a way that has a sort of like Eli Roth quality to it at times where, again, it's not that like there are these long death sequences like when Ellie dies or whatever, but like just the way that those quick scenes play out and the way that even your character delivers violence to other characters, like there's just something like it feels not fetishistic, but it feels like there is a definite disconnect between the emotions you're supposed to be feeling and the way that it delivers those violence. Like there is a disconnect between those two things to me.
And when you say Ellie dies, you mean like when you were playing the character and you like fuck up and then it reloads?
Yeah, when like a monster comes and grabs her, or when someone shoots her. Yeah.
I was like, what?
No.
Yeah, no. You're talking about like regular death scenes for your video game character.
Right. You're talking about the Tomb Raider path of just having like, whoa. Why do we need to show this? Okay. Well, I had a great time in the when I was in a photo booth. And we were taking pictures in that photo booth, and that was a lot of fun in the game I played, which was the Left Behind DLC.
That's a sweet game.
I think that might still be the best of The Last of Us.
The best of us.
A lot of what I've seen from people is people saying like maybe it overstays its welcome a little bit, but by the end they were like all on board. So I'm curious to see where it ends. I want to have faith that they can hopefully, I don't know, because I feel like they're already giving into some of these tropes, but also it's like a fucking violent game. Like,
yeah,
I have more thoughts about it. I think we're gonna try to do a spoiler cast.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
More openly there. I don't know. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm eager to see where it goes. There is a lot I like about the characters, and there are things I am nervous about with the characters as well.
I will say from my part, there was a period last week where I wasn't sure if I was ever actually going to finish this game because the momentum was kind of lost and I wasn't sure. But now that I've kind of gone back to it, I feel like I'm at the point now where I can see it through, and I will.
Spoiler cast in the works, waiting for some more people to finish it. Yeah. Abby.
Yes.
You know that magic thing you do with your mic sometimes, where you do the like it's doing the thing. While you
I'll just do it.
Yeah, well, you do the what is it, the podcast equivalent of reset the router.
Hello. Is that any better?
Ooh.
Let's switch it back to what it was before, and let's see if that's good. Hello.
Sure.
Hello.
Yeah. Yep. Oh.
Great. On the thing that you told me to switch it off of.
Great.
Switch it back to another thing, put it right back on it.
It's okay. We'll go with it. Let's roll.
It's acceptable.
Jeff Bacalar, is this this PS5 rumor thing?
So I'm sure did we get corrections about it? If we didn't, we should have.
Okay.
Who has a cartoon kitchen behind them?
Oh, that's me. Someone is like throwing something away.
Okay. Sorry.
What was all that?
Like dropped a pan, pan lid or something.
All right. Sorry, Jeff Backler. What's up?
I don't know if the story that I used for bringing this up was updated by the time we went live last week, but turns out the circulating tweet about the PS5 pricing getting leaked is from a completely fabricated screenshot.
Okay.
So fuck everything else while we're at it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So Amazon France was like, nah, that's not real. Somebody made it up. And basically most outlets who reported the quote unquote leak have gone back and updated their stories accordingly to say, yeah, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What?
Yeah, I just think it's like, I'm not going to question why people do the things they do, but seemed like that it wasn't a very shocking kind of thing. Like, I don't know if you're going to
make a leak,
fabricate, make a leak shocking if you're going to fabricate.
No, but then nobody will believe it.
I mean, they're trying. Yeah, that's the thing. If it's going to be an effective hoax, it has to be at least partially believable.
Yeah, I'm not saying like PS5 $99. I get it, but
yeah.
Sure, okay.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was faking a PS5 price.
That's the Kaiser Soze quote verbatim.
That's right.
I kind of feel like you're selling the devil short here. I feel like he's pulled a few other tricks that were maybe a little more interesting.
No, it's just that PS5 one.
Wow.
It's a PS5 thing. Yeah. There's a PS5 walking down a street right now laughing.
Right, adjusting his limp and yeah. So yeah, that's all I really got on that front. It just What are you gonna do? I wasn't making a video about it, but it was a part of a video, a section of a video. Obviously, I'm glad we didn't do it, but that I was working on, and obviously you vet things as much as you can, and then this comes out after many outlets that you respect report on it, and you're like, oh well, good thing I didn't fucking do that. So
congratulations, and a little pat on your
back.
Thank
you.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
job.
Thank
good job. We're gonna get you your
much.
press hat and one of those little pieces of paper for it. It's gonna be real cool. Speaking of press, who watched the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Before
I thought we were gonna talk about something else. No, are we still in the news? Are we doing games? Are we doing news?
It's very confusing, right?
Just,
we're kind of playing jazz over here. It's the games we don't talk about. It's the
I forgot we were on news when I pivoted to The Last of Us.
No, it's listen, I'm liking this little freeform middle section here of the show.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
I was gonna bounce back to a bit of stuff that just happened, which was the Cyberpunk Night City Wire stream that just happened. It literally feels like 5 days ago. It was probably like 3 hours ago. I don't even know if the archive is up yet. Thank you, Jan, for taking care of that. The CD Projekt Red folks and the developers of Cyberpunk 2077 did about a half hour of streaming not too long ago today. They showed off what was it called? BD Memories. It's like basically detective vision, where you can go through the memories or recorded memories of somebody who was doing something, and it's kind of marketed as this universe's version of an adrenaline high, right? You're kind of like, because you relive the emotional parts of these things too. So like there are BD junkies and people who are kind of watching these people holding up a store to kind of get a rush of adrenaline and fear and all this stuff. Anyway, the protagonist in the clip they showed is using it to kind of Arkham Asylum, I think, had this, the detective vision, where you're kind of like scrubbing through the footage, trying to find clues. They in-game explain how you can kind of detach from the perspective of the person so you can look around them and find other clues, and kind of hack into security camera feeds to get other angles on stuff, to what sounds like try to push some of the video game objective forward. We're not exactly, I know that sounds very vague, but it's not exactly clear when and why and how many times you'll be using this opportunity. But they did focus a lot on that. They also, in the course of that, showed a decent amount of gameplay. It sounds like, what did they say? Media has received the game and will be posting up previews, or they're up already. So if that stuff might be out there. I know Jeff Keighley was showing some gameplay that was recorded. That game still looks good. I personally am excited for it. I think there are a number of pitfalls I'm looking out for in that game, which are min-maxing the different opportunities to get through spaces. I mentioned some of this in the live stream we did, but some of those games like Deus Ex, I feel like I want to do a stealth route, or I want to go this this is my fault maybe, but maybe it's game design, do the route that is the cooler, maybe non-violent way than just guns blazing. And I think I did it halfway, and then I get into the room and I look around and there's the glowing grate in the objective room, and I was like, oh, there's the air vents that was supposed to come in through, clearly supposed to come in through that one. Or like look around and be like, oh, there's the computer, I should have hacked that. Or in the case of something like Fallout, where you hit the thing and you're like, I don't have hacking skills, I guess I'm locked out of this. I don't know. Some of that stuff bothers me sometimes as somebody who wants to see everything, and I know you can't, and it might take multiple playthroughs, but I really like the Witcher series. I think the story stuff does pretty well in there, and I think I like their how they handle a universe that has more than just the kind of, and I love Mass Effect, but Mass Effect Paragon Renegade stuff, where stuff is like, oh, this is a little more gray area on this. Maybe there's not going to be a good answer. You're just going to have to agree to do something, and it might be the wrong thing, or the person you thought was the good person might be the bad person, and hopefully it's not too cliche and you didn't see it coming from a mile away, or maybe the situation was more complicated than that. I feel like
that's I was just say that's maybe the concern I have about this one, which is to say that in the demos I've sat through and in like this most recent stream, had kind of a hard time with the dialogue and some of the character stuff. Like it's just it's corny in a way that I feel like I haven't played every Witcher game, obviously, but The Witcher 3 never really felt that way to me. And obviously they're going for something different here. And, I've been reading Neuromancer. Like, I know like what they're pulling from, like the kinds of slang and the kinds of the way the characters talk to each other. Like, I get what they're pulling for, but it's just, it comes off in a very stilted and hokey way that just isn't cool the way they seem to think it's very cool. And that's where I'm losing it.
When I saw the trailer, because it started with just like here's a trailer, like sort of more of a story trailer at the stop of it, or the start of it, or like a character trailer, and that like turned me off of it the most. Like, I'm excited for the like Batman Detective Vision, I love that shit, but like the story trailer looked very much like, here's a fucking goofy, like nobody fucking gives a shit world, just like GTA, we know you love it, and like they even had like people drinking and then throwing up, and it's just like, I don't know. Yeah,
it's not like
it doesn't feel like tonally what I want from that game, and it doesn't feel interesting or new to me, I think.
Like, it's not aggro snarky the way that GTA can be, but like there's just I don't know, like I'm not really sure where the disconnect is exactly, but I do know that as soon as I heard that guy say hella, I wanted to turn that fucking stream off, because look, I get it, it's California, but one, no one in Southern California says that. And two, I feel like every time the word hella is written into game dialogue, actors lean on that word in a way that makes me feel like they don't want to be saying it.
I don't know the cyberpunk milieu very well. So like, it is coming off, The Witcher comes off of pre-existing source material as well, but I don't know a lot of that stuff might be baked in. I don't know the hella how much that's baked in, but some of this stuff is it might be lifted.
That was just one that stuck out to me.
Yeah, but I get it. It does seem like you've got this cyberpunk gutter speak, right? You got this kind of or you got this lingo that has to feel like people say this all the time, and some of that stuff does feel like they're reading it off a page with a bunch of words that the voice actresses and actors don't really understand as well, right? They're just kind of rambling off slang that they're like, what did I just say? In a Samoflange moment, and that's. The outtakes from the recordings are probably very funny from some of that stuff. But that all being said, that game I said this on the thing as well. That game looks dense. It looks like every view of that game is like, man, that environment just looks busy and dense. And then they showed some of the kind of outskirts of the city stuff, which was also interesting. Some driving in more wasteland style things with an interesting contrast. A lot more to be seen. It was only about 25 minutes ish. Maybe there's more footage from other outlets out there that are covering it. They said that it would be episodic. We will probably not be covering, not the game, sorry, I should be very clear. They said the stream, they would have more streams. This was episode 1 of Night City Wire, and that they would stream more before release, leading up to the release. And we will probably
release date right
November.
November 19th.
Oh, they sorry. They also said that to finish that thought, we will probably not be covering every hit of those. So going forward. So the other thing they said was it is going to be available to be played on Xbox Series X, which was kind of, I feel like, assumed or known. Also PS5 will be able to play the version you buy, will be able to play those with some kind of upgrade path down the line, which I can't confirm whether that's free or not, whether they said, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
But they said there will be a path at least.
Yeah. So
interesting. Well, yeah. I mean, we kind of like pondered that juxtaposition last week when we were like, you're gonna have these two games. You're gonna have this game out and these new consoles, and that feels weird. I want to add on just a little bit of the conversation because I guest hosted a podcast yesterday, the GameSpot After Dark podcast, and I spoke with a lot of people. Oh no, who did I speak with? Did they both play it? No, just one person played it. Jake Decker of GameSpot had played that demo that's been going around. Have you heard about that?
So is that the media have access to it?
Yeah.
Is that podcast up
tomorrow morning?
Okay.
I wonder if that's.
I want to make sure that you.
I don't know. Maybe.
Bravo, sir. That's what I'm asking. I don't know.
I've definitely seen like.
I think there's been people talking about having played a demo.
Yeah,
of that
there's
game.
definitely people
that's not
talking.
No, I wanted to just stop you before. Let's just pump the brakes
so
before you
stop right there.
Yeah, maybe you should just
stops right there. And there was one interesting thing I wish I could say about it though that I thought, or at least the manner in which they played it. But whatever.
Save it for next week.
That's right.
Cool.
Or hey. Or here's a good thing. Go listen to the podcast when it goes up. Go to
what am I talking about?
What you're doing?
Dumb.
Yeah, you dumb. Don't listen to the. I think it goes up. I want to say tomorrow morning at like 6, 8 o'clock, whatever it is. GameSpot After Dark. It was a really fun conversation. I had a great time with those fine people. Great. That's my plug.
Yeah, and you'll hear
backing out of that.
No, listen, you'll hear more about Cyberpunk and that stuff there.
We talked. Yeah, it's really informative. I learned a lot for sure.
All right, and you can go watch the archive from us talking over Cyberpunk to hear Brad and Jeff dunk a little on Witcher 3. Witcher 3, great game.
Yeah, that's so weird. You never really expressed that opinion before, but look,
I'm happy.
Why we do a podcast?
I'm happy to be in that camp. All right, I think that's kind of the news we have been able to wrangle.
We're not going to talk about Jeff Keighley bringing back Alf.
What?
What did he do?
He brought back Alf. Alf is back, guys.
How do you bring back
Did
Alf?
you carry him in like a bundle?
He's
Is
back
it like a baby Alf, like
in
baby
Summer
Peanut?
Game Fest form. He's back.
Where was he?
Apparently, he was on one of those.
Somewhere?
He was on one of those Summer Game Fest streams, I think, on Monday. They just straight up, he's your special tech correspondent for this. I only want to bring this up because there's a decent chance this is the last funny thing that will ever happen in video games. So I don't want to miss the chance to talk about it.
Wait.
Funny.
So did somebody bring back Alf, or somebody had an Alf costume? Like, is this?
No, it was Alf, the puppet. It was the damn puppet.
And the voice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same
Is it
voice.
officially licensed Alf, or did he bring it out like a little bundle and was like, it can't talk? But
no,
like,
it was Alf. It was damn Alf. Back? It was some damn Alf.
Alien life form
They needed
Alf.
a live cat on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he have to say about anything, Alf?
Fuck if I know. I didn't watch that shit. I'm just saying he brought Alf back.
All right,
Alf came on the show to advertise his Facebook gaming stream.
Oh, great.
Really?
Okay. Great. Just in time
That's
for
a sentence.
everybody.
That's a hell of a sentence.
Boy, Alf, let me give you a piece of advice. Get out of get as far away. Go back to
Hey,
Melmac.
Vinny.
Get away from the gaming industry right now. Yeah.
I just feel like you can probably do an Alf impression.
Hey,
Don't.
Hey, Willie.
Really?
Yeah, Willie.
I don't think I've ever heard Alf speak before, but I imagine that
Willie.
impression was spot on.
Alf sort of sounds like a Northeast kind of dude. Right? Would you describe?
Yeah.
I'm from Boston. My favorite way
No,
to
that's
Oh,
not
we
Alf.
did it
No, Abby,
I'm Alf.
that's Ralph. That's
No.
not Alf. That's
He's like he's obsessed with like cats. He like eats
Eating
cats.
cats. Yes, he eats
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah,
I know
he just,
that.
like
That's his whole deal.
yeah.
yeah.
It's from
that's not
Melmac.
old, really.
Yeah.
Melmac.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the dad. Who was the dad in the show? He was like this very.
I think it's
worried
Willie. I think his name is
doctor.
Willie.
That was his name is Willie on the show.
Oh
yes.
shit! Sorry. All right,
Yeah.
there you go. So it tells you what I know about Alf canon.
Hey.
Anyway, we don't need to talk about Alf anymore. I just
Oh,
I
hey,
couldn't.
you brought it up.
I know. I just couldn't let that moment pass without comment.
Okay. Games. Any more games that we want to talk about? I played. Other than
Oh, I have a
the.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's start with me. I played.
Yeah, go.
I played.
Yes, Vinny.
Can you start, Vinny? Doesn't seem like you can.
I can't. I played some Final Fantasy VII, and I'm still working through it. Okay, Abby, what's up?
Oh, okay. That's it. I have played SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Yay.
This got a little chewed up in our back end. I think it's up now. Not super sure, but it will be up soon if it's not. But that is a remastered, reskinning, whatever, of a game that came out in 2003, I believe. It is a
right.
3D platformer
Okay.
based in the SpongeBob universe with all the SpongeBob characters you love. Mr. Krabs' voice actor is different. But otherwise, everyone seems to be the same, which is good. My impression of that game is that I think if you are a child who enjoys SpongeBob between the ages of, say, like 7 and 11, okay, 6 and 11?
Ugh.
Or if
5
you're
and 11?
or if you're a stoner over 30.
Yeah.
Well, now we're
I
checking
think
all
that
the
you
boxes.
will enjoy this game. I think it is fun. I think it is fine. I think it is clunky in a lot of the ways that a platformer made in 2006 are. You know, they should have probably updated some of those things to make it a little bit more playable in that sense, but I think it's still pretty fun. I think it's fun. I think that the writing is funny and cute. I think that the story is like mostly coherent. It's not really why you're coming to it.
Well, I think.
I think it's
Did you play it at the
What?
time?
no.
Okay, I think it still has
I
like
don't
a
think I did.
historical like it's as a piece of like as Kojima's first game. I think it is very important to play and check out.
I'm gonna
That joke
assume
went
this is a
over
joke,
super
keep
well.
laughing as though it is.
Yeah, I want to see how many people are paying attention right now. Went
Not-
over great in
not good.
rehearsals. It was the follow up to the Al thing.
Anyway, I love Kojima. It's on record. I love SpongeBob. I think it's fun. I think it's a sweet game. I think it's a $30 thing on every platform.
It's
You know what you're getting for it. And I think at the end of the day, it's like for kids. I really enjoyed turning it on, shut my brain off, and like picking up a bunch of shines, which is like the currency in the game.
Really?
No, it was fun. It's fun. I think their shines are like shinies or something.
Oh wow,
They look
That's
like
like-
little corals.
Mario.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. There's not much more you can say about it. It's perfectly fine. It, I think, has enough variation and nuance in the combat that you won't get bored, but it's not so hard that a child couldn't pick it up and feel competent in it.
Is it 3D plat or is it side?
It's 3D platforming.
Okay.
And I'm not big on platformers. It's like it's sort of like a Mario 64 type of open world. You go and there's some platforming in it, but there's also some exploring. You run into characters and they want you to get their golden spatulas, and that's that's the game. Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't know what more I can say about it. It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Hey, SpongeBob. Who am I? Hey, SpongeBob.
Patrick.
Okay. Whoa, Patrick. Ah. Who am I?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's SpongeBob.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
that's
let's see if-
SpongeBob.
Oh, no, that was
rest.
SpongeBob. Okay.
SpongeBob's in my pants.
Oh, I'm Squidward.
I'm
Oh, God. Oh, I play the clarinet. Very good, Sydney.
That's it. That's all I
Next
got. Who's left?
Mr. Krabs, he loves talking about money.
Doesn't he yell
Mr.
a
Krabs
lot?
does yell a decent amount.
He has like a
I
husky.
don't remember Mr. Krabs. Okay. Jeff Backler, what do you got?
Just a little. I don't know. SpongeBob's just like it's just like not around for any of SpongeBob.
Oh,
Like
Jeff.
I've seen it, but I don't know.
SpongeBob. Okay.
Like I know
Unironic-
about it, but I don't.
I haven't kept up with SpongeBob, but I think SpongeBob is truly. When I was growing up, I watched the first episode as it aired, the first day it aired. I think it is the best, like one of the best pieces of kids television out there. At least it was back in the day. I don't keep up to date, but I think it like changed the game for kids TV. I think it's weird in a fun way. I think the writing is funny. I think it's a sweet show that is good kids TV.
Yeah,
Just
my
gonna throw that
understanding is that
think
it's held up
anyone-
pretty well.
Yeah, I don't think
The season that's airing now, I think, is the last one that the original creator worked on before they passed away. So I think that I don't know if this is supposed to be the last season or not, but like they've like whatever episodes are airing now, were still like the original creator, I think, was still involved.
I tried to get. I feel like it's something that I like wanted to show my son and have him try and get into. He might be a little too young for it right now.
I think
I
you might.
feel like,
Yeah.
I when I do see it though, there are like shades of like Ren and Stimpy in there
Oh, yeah.
that I get.
It's not as vulgar.
No, definitely not.
Like,
It's a step
no,
down.
It's not
It's
as
silly.
vulgar.
I think it's kind of wacky. I think in the same way, wacky.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more slapstick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
definitely do that. Who's the Ren and Stimpy artist? Alex, I feel like you would know this.
Ooh, that
John-
guy is bad.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about.
Okay.
We don't want to talk about him.
That
We don't want to
guy's
talk about
bad.
him.
In like bad ways. Yeah,
All
that
right.
guy sucks.
Hold on. Let me reset the
really?
clock. We'll start
Yeah,
talking
go
about
ahead and
something
wipe
else.
that one off
Yeah.
the board.
You gotta do a yeehaw for us.
Yep. Reset the time
Cleanse the
until
palate.
accidentally walking into something. All right.
Wait,
I was
is
going
it-
to say the
Which
SpongeBob
one's
thing
bad?
has.
I need to know.
No, it's
What?
John K. John K is bad.
John K
That's
is bad.
yeah.
Yes.
But
The
Bob
Ren and Stimpy
Camp-
guy.
I
The
was
guy
gonna-
in
I don't know
SpongeBob, as far as I know, is good.
Okay.
It has that same those like close up, super hyper drawn moments
like
in
that,
it.
Oh,
You know?
yeah,
yeah.
where you fill the
Hairs.
pores.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
But
that.
less outwardly disgusting than Ren and Stimpy tended to
Boogers.
go for. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to like, space. That's the whole space madness thing is like wild.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What's up?
we were going to talk about me and games, right?
That's it. That's right. We were.
We have to.
I've been playing a little bit of that their hard space ship
Yeah.
breaker.
Yeah.
Outlaw? Something?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Shipbreaker.
It's just-
Oh, Shipbreaker.
yeah. Hard Space Shipbreaker. If you look up Shipbreaker, you get a different game. Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Way different game. After hearing one of you talk about it last week,
It's two of us, but thank you.
sure, whatever. And I am drinking what that thing is serving me. I am very much into it.
What do you think
It
of
took
the
me a Go ahead.
What do you think of the timer? I cut you off very, very. I should let you finish talking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've really like come to terms with it yet in a way that it's impacting my play.
Okay.
Again, I'm not very deep into this. But I was talking about it on the After Dark show. It gives me the creeps in a way that the Outer Wilds did.
Oh, interesting.
Where
vibe.
like I got very haunted by the vastness and endlessness of space. Even though Shipbreaker, you have Earth you're in low orbit and you see Earth and you're kind of grounded, if that makes sense in that regard. Whereas Outer Wilds, you can be like, sort of like, slingshotted into space and you're tumbling for eternity and you can't get your bearings. That was the truly most horrific stuff of Outer Wilds that I really had a tough time, like genuinely hard time playing.
So you get that sense that like something's going to explode and propel you away, and you're
and I think that there is that effect that does happen after you use that sort of grabby laser gun you have, and when you can sort of
gun.
like there's
a tether and grapples. Are there two?
Right. Other than that, and your laser thing. Than that. it speaks to me. I I could do the cowboy thing is maybe like that's a choice, that's fine. But everything else, something about it, I do find it therapeutic in a way I didn't think I would.
I did as well. Yeah.
I gotta try this game.
Yeah, it's just there's a certain kind of like floaty, sort of molassesy kind of control that this game does that just kind of brings me down to a sort of like comfortable, void.
Sounds like House Flipper to me. Is this on early access? I forget. So because it's going to be available on everything, but right now it's just on Steam because it's early access.
It is an early access. I remember, Vinny, you were complaining about the fidelity, or at least you couldn't get it to like look like
the little videos there. Yeah.
I started playing this game and I'm like, yeah, this does look a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
And I go into the video settings.
There are none
by default. No, yes, there are.
Oh, maybe
by default it had me playing at like 480p basically. So
weird.
I
don't remember seeing when was there more than one option in the video settings?
Yeah, I want to say there was like maybe like a high, medium, low kind of like fidelity, and then resolution with refresh rate as well.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't booted that or gone back in those menus. Yeah, it's for those that don't know, it's a game where we talked about it last week. You are you're breaking apart derelict or wreck ships or salvage by using cutting tools, using welding, or I don't know what's the opposite of welding, cutting. You're breaking apart these ships, and there are basically three types of salvage you can get. One is you throw stuff into a furnace, one is you throw stuff into processing, and one is you salvage it, and they go into three different places. So it's a little bit of like, cut this thing out, launch it into the furnace, this thing has to go into the processing, but you're dealing with fairly large ships, and that's the really interesting part to me of like, oh man, this stuff looks like it weighs tons. But in 0G, now you have these things floating around and you're using momentum to try and get them in the right spots and launch them forward. And you got fun physicsy tethers to try and move stuff around. Those tethers, if you play that game, it starts you off without the tethers. I think that's kind of a mistake. Once you get the tethers, that game is much different and moves a lot faster.
I'll also say this. I was super into this kind of... they very, very casually graze over a bit of like the lore when the game boots up and you basically go through that fake job application.
Yep.
And there's a really interesting like sort of noise bed underneath all that where you're like hearing what Earth sounds like in 2330 or whenever the hell it is. And I was sort of like, oh, I like that. I want that a little bit more. I realize I'm going to be like up in space doing freelance salvage collection and whatnot. But I'm into it. I'm definitely going to keep going with it. There is something about like how it gets all twangy in a weird way that I was like, oh, I didn't expect that, but sure, that's cool. I'm into it. I like what it's doing. I'm gonna play as much as I can.
In the early access, there's a bit of confusion I had about how long should I stay doing the same ship versus moving on to a new contract, because you can basically get contracts for salvage. And should I go back and try and take all the metal and stuff off that I can, or should I just complete the objectives as quickly as possible and move on to a fresh ship?
Yeah, they don't really lay that out. They also don't lay out. I think a lot of the controls they just sort of like handcuff you a bunch in the beginning. I just don't think it's a smooth enough road that you have to go down where you're like, okay, this does this does that. It's sort of just like, here's the legend of things and you're off. And I wound up like, accomplishing things without realizing it. I was just like, let's unpack this. Let's start over. What did I do?
The first couple of hours I think are weak in that regard. Like they don't do a great job of contextualizing like what you should be doing and sort of like showing you like kind of the right ways to use some of the I think the first tool they show you how to use, but kind of after that it's kind of left to you to figure it out. Right. And that was like an impediment initially. Like I got over it, and I think that game does get better once you kind of understand what all the stuff you're supposed to use. I think the onboarding needs a little work.
It takes a little bit. How are you guys playing this? Are you playing with a controller?
One second. Sorry. Is Abby? Your cat was putting its head in a candle. Is that a candle there? Okay.
It's not a candle. It's a cup of water that I typically drink from. I put it on the table to tempt him away from my regular water now because he kept drinking out of mine. So I was like, you know what, Tater, this is yours. It's going to go on the table where the mama water goes. So it's now the Tater water.
Sorry,
he thinks he's being naughty, but really it's a trap.
If a mother and her child cannot share the same water glass, then truly, like, all right, where are we? What are we doing?
I wanted to make sure they weren't getting into something they shouldn't. Sorry.
No. I don't have an open flame because I know he's fucking stupid and will stick his face into it. The other day, oh my God. The other day, I stepped out of my kitchen for like 2 seconds. He walked over an open flame on my stove. Like, he's stupid. He's dumb. You're going to kill yourself.
Wait, he didn't get singed a little bit?
No, he's just dumb. He just wanted to lick the sink water. Stupid cat. Right. Yesterday, he ate an entire whole honeybee. I don't know how it got in my damn house, but there was a big old fucking bumblebee, and he ate the whole thing and then threw it up immediately.
Was delicious. Oh, wait, really threw it up?
Oh, absolutely. Right away.
For someone who loves cats, you hate cats.
I don't know. People think I love cats. I got him in high school. I'm burdened with him. I love him so much, but also he sucks ass.
Oh, man.
I mean, look,
I love cats and dogs. I like animals, but I'm not like...
I have a deep emotional connection to my cat Thelma. I've had her through some of the best and worst times of my life, and I wouldn't trade her for anything. But also, she is a little fucking asshole sometimes, and you have to be able to acknowledge that.
Wow.
Yes.
Sounds like cat people are just the worst. That's what I'm thinking.
Sounds like cat people don't know how to like things.
Let me tell you about dogs. So Jeff, you were holding on to that thought you were going to say.
Yeah. How are you controlling this game? Are you doing the controller?
Keyboard.
Are you doing mouse and keyboard? Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard
for me.
I started with mouse and keyboard, and then I think maybe there was something about, because of the 0G kind of like, mini booster control of the game. I was like, this might be better control. And I haven't really looked back since switching to controllers. So.
Yeah.
I was thinking about trying it. Hard Space Shipbreakers is the game we're talking about.
It's on sale.
I want to try it, but I don't want to play it on my computer.
There you go.
The hard
That's fair.
truth of it. I'm not going to do it.
That's the hard space.
That's the computer all day for work.
Oh, everything's on sale right now. They're doing a thing. Steam's doing a thing.
The Steam sale, I think, is kicked off.
There's always a Steam sale.
This is like the big summer sale, yeah.
All right. Any other games would like to talk about here, or we'll move on?
I think it's time to move on.
All right. Well, we're going to take another. This one will be a quicker break here, so stick around. We'll be back. We're going to do some emails in a second. Hang tight, folks. Let me get this set up here, and we'll be back in just a few. Music. Okay, music. Here it goes. The music. All right, we are back, and it is time for the emails. If you have an email, please send them into beastcast@giantbomb.com. That is beastcast@giantbomb.com. Abby Russell, you've gone through the emails. You've picked out the emails that we will be discussing today. Thanks, everybody, for sending them in. Well, what do we have to talk about today?
Okay, Jeff, will you read this first one from Paul, please?
I most absolutely can and will. Paul says, you now have the power to completely erase a single piece of media from your memory at will.
At will.
We'll say will.
Yeah, we'll go will.
We'll go with will.
Yeah. We can do
allowing you to, quote, experience it for the first time as often as you like. What movie / game / book / album, whatever it is, do you choose and why? Or for shits and giggles, say you could choose one from each category. I don't know if we have time for that, but thanks for the hours and hours of entertainment. Thank you, Paul. I think for me, it would be The Fifth Element.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Interesting.
You don't think that gets better on repeated viewings?
You know, why
that's like a fun comfort
ruin my
for me.
fucking fantasy.
Sorry. Let's go back. Wow, The Fifth Element. Great choice.
So that movie came out in what, 97, I want to say? Al,
yeah, 97.
And that movie changed my life. Without a doubt. Like, it did. I, up until then, and in a way still am, absolutely fascinated and obsessed with depictions of the future. And I could not handle just how cool I thought that movie did all that. The New York City of what year is it? I think it's like 20, 23, 22.
It's some time off.
It's a bit of a ways away. Could not I beyond obsessed with that movie. Other than that, I do not know of something that moved me in a way at a very impressionable age, but nevertheless, moved me to what I felt after and during seeing that movie.
That's intense.
And just inspired my taste, I think, for a lifetime, and really just kind of was set the bar for me. There's better movies, I can say that now, 23 years removed, but I'm not sure something really has, I think something that's come pretty close was Watchmen on HBO for me. I think that did some extraordinary stuff.
I still need to watch that one. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Do you think? Do you think I could? Do you think it's a time and place thing for The Fifth Element too? You think it was just the right time for Jeff?
You want to undo all that again for me?
No, I'm curious.
How else do you think this is the wrong choice for you to make? In this
that's a good question, Abby.
Yeah. Can we stick to the kind of letter of the question here? And boy,
no,
you gotta blow it.
Vinny, I'm fucking with you.
I really liked your answer, Jeff.
Thanks, Abby.
It'll do. I mean, it's fine.
You're the friend I need.
I get it. She knows it's a multi-pass. I get it. It's funny.
Yeah, you can't look. You already dug your hole here, buddy. So here's the deal. 1997. What am I? I'm 15 years old. I'm a fucking idiot, I'm sure. I don't know. It's tough time and place to really, at that age, I for sure have decided I want to make movies for a living. That's what I've, definitely decided, at like a young age. And I don't know. I just think there was just nothing at that production level that I had seen, and by then I had seen, Blade Runner. I had seen a lot of media that you would probably throw into this sort of catch-all. And I don't know if time and place could be a thing for sure, but isn't that how all of life is experienced at some time and some place?
Very true. Well, I have on the heels of that, I will say I have a product that transcends time and space, and that is the Outer the Outer Wilds. I think is a game that I think you can only really enjoy once, or not really enjoy once, but once you have kind of made your way through it on repeated playings, that it will never have that same impact of
I think
discovery.
there's a certain wonder to discovering each step in that game that cannot be repeated. I have played that game again and still enjoyed it and very much been like, this fucking rules, but it's not the same as when I first entered a very specific area and my heart was pounding and I was like, holy fuck,
And I think the puzzle solving and once you kind of know the whole story and the hooks and everything like that, it's not to say that you can't play it again, but I haven't. Once I kind of got everything I have, and I haven't touched it again. And it's maybe on a short list of some of my favorite games of all time. And I know it's very recent, but I think it had that big an impact. And I also think it would. I would think it would at any time in my life as well. I think that game. If I played it when I was 12, if I played it 10 years ago, it would still be extremely impressive.
Yeah. I think for me, I have a similar one, which is the Return of the Obra Dinn, which I did sort of play again because I had enough time in between that I forgot everything. And I'm hopeful that that'll happen again because that is another puzzle game. But even playing it a second time, it's not as impactful as when you first hear the first big music cue. That is such a big whoa, this game is we are in it for this game. And I think as far as movies go, I think it's probably Annihilation for me. There is a point in that, also another big music cue, where the protagonist is looking at something and there's this music that's playing during it. And I remember in theaters being holy shit, I'm watching this. And I would love to be able to experience that new again because it was such a fucking cool moment.
Did you, Abby, we didn't even bring this up, but I got a good amount of Annihilation vibes in Last of Us 2.
Sure, I didn't, but I see what you're saying.
There's some art design that definitely evokes it.
I think there's like clickers, and I feel like I definitely saw it with like some of the characters who were like leaned up against the wall and like things were like but I feel like there is like a surprisingly colorful aesthetic to Annihilation, and I do feel like Last of Us kind of sticks to the grays.
Yes, that is
it's true. Like green and grays, but
yeah, you really get into that, some of that fungi. You really look up close to that. And
I do not want to get into the fungi.
Those fine fungi hairs are they're there.
Alex,
I would say Portal 2.
Oh man,
nice.
Yeah, those were wild.
Very good.
I haven't played them in ages. I bet I could. I can't imagine I remember any of the puzzles anymore.
Yeah, I might be able to do it now and get a pretty satisfying feeling out of it. But I mean, I think it's the dual threat of solving those puzzles for the first time is not a thing you can necessarily recreate, and also hearing jokes for the first time is not a thing you can recreate. Like, not to say that they're not still funny, but the way they hit you the first time they hit you is always different than when you go back for subsequent playthroughs or viewings or whatever. So to be able to have all of that kind of come back in a completely fresh way, I think would be my pick.
I would I did go back and play Portal 2 another time, but it's been years. I remember my second playthrough feeling like 85% as fresh as the first, right? Where you're just like, I don't remember how to solve any of this shit. And the J.K. Simmons stuff is great, and yeah.
You also have to hit the reset button on the cake is a lie. Basically wipe that out from culture.
I'm actually going to write a note to myself to say stop before you get there, so you never know about that, and you'll be a lot happier.
I feel like maybe the move is doing just like a fresh playthrough 1 and 2 again.
Oh, to do
like,
1 and Portal 1
sure.
and 2?
Yeah, like why
new
the hell
feature.
not?
Let's move away from Resident Evil and Dead Space. Let's play Portal. Everybody be there.
The most horrifying.
Can I do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff, you and me will do co-op on Portal 2.
You promise?
I would love to. Sure. Internet handshake.
I tried to get the kids to play it, and I think it was just a little outside the zone right now because I thought they'd have fun.
I think in a couple of years, maybe.
It's a time and place thing.
Yeah, it's a time and place thing, and they were not in the right place at the right time. Speaking of time and place thing, I think my movie would probably be Into the Spider-Verse. I saw that with the kids in the theater. I fucking love that movie so much.
I saw that on Christmas Eve. That movie rules.
And to be able to see that in the theater and share it with my kids as one of their first movie experiences, like, a fucking dad home run here. Like, we knocked it out of the park. It's like, my wife was like, yeah, we'll go see it. I'm like, we are seeing this movie. It's like, okay, do you want to take the kids? I was like, I will. If you drive us there and drop us off, because I don't really drive, then like, yes, but while you're there, you should probably come see it with us. And she came in. And
I love the idea of your wife being like, well, I'll chauffeur you guys in this stupid Spider-Man movie.
Oh, and then you don't understand the joy of having 2 hours alone by yourself while somebody else is watching the kids. But she stayed and she actually really liked it. But I was like, man, this is quality family time right here. This movie's awesome. I'm loving this. The kids loved it.
You got Roxy loved it?
Yeah, she did. She really liked it.
Can she talk to my son?
Sure.
Did he not like it?
No, I just like, we have this like, I feel like I'm always talking about it, but we have this like movie situation where like he doesn't want to watch movies.
Interesting.
And I'm just like, dude, Spider-Verse is amazing. Like, you can't just convince a kid that. The first time I saw that movie though, I was like, yeah, I mean, it was sort of like almost falling over in your seat.
It's so good. Like, we just watched it again.
It's so good.
Here, we watched it 2 more times here. I don't watch. Yeah. I don't sit and watch movies multiple times, kind of ever.
I do that all the time. Oh my god! Like every day, I'm like, I'm feeling lazy. Let's put something on. It's familiar, comfy, easy, done.
Yeah. I put movies on in the background like comfort food in a way. I would much rather hear like Clue than a lawnmower going.
That's fair. I don't know. I don't reread a lot of books. I don't watch a lot of movies, which is funny because my memory is for crap, so they would all be fresh and new to me again anyway. But yeah, we've watched that one twice, and I've sat through it twice. And it's it still holds up, still good. So yeah, I think that feeling of being in the theater with everybody, being like, we're all enjoying this, was really special for me. I don't know. Hold on to that one. Alex, did you have any movie stuff that you want to talk about, or?
I mean, I don't know. Like, there's probably tons of movies I would love to experience again for the first time. I will say that amid this, I'm just going to go out and say deeply reckless and completely obscene attempt at trying to bring movie theaters back amid all of this other shit going on right now. I personally would not feel any strong feelings if movie theaters, at least as the commercial enterprise that they currently exist as, just fucking die. Like, I feel for the jobs, I feel for the careers.
No, I am not with you on this at all, Alex, but carry on.
I think at this point, like, the theater chains and the theater industry as it exists is probably not worth salvaging. That said, the last time I had a great experience in a movie theater is one that I do cherish, and it is one that I would probably love experiencing again, which was seeing Get Out opening weekend in a very rowdy Queens movie theater with people who were super into it. And when a particular character gets out of a cop car near the end of that movie, everyone just exploding in the theater with like cheers and happiness is one of those moments that I always go back to and just like, God, okay, there is something to this experience. There is something to being a part of an audience. And again, I think that there are theaters that do the theater experience well, and there are certainly movies that benefit from it. It's just that the theater experience, as it is largely commercially provided to people in this day and age, is largely garbage and not worth saving.
Yeah, it's enter through the gift shop is what that experience is. I mean,
I don't know.
It's look like
I like movies. I like a shared experience of movies. I like the energy in a movie theater.
Totally.
I like a good full surround sound, even though I have one, Jeff. I don't know if you've noticed this.
No, I've never.
On the wall over here.
There's no way to know. But listen, here's the thing though that Alex, you also I feel like also needs to be touched on. Studios do not need theaters as much as theaters need studios, right? So like that relationship is not really smooth at the moment and will remain fractured for the foreseeable future. I don't know how that turns around in a way where theaters become this sort of like, you know, Graceland to studios. It's just not going to happen again.
I think that what's going to happen with theaters is I think you're probably going to see more stuff that is like, this is kind of a novel theater experience, like the Nighthawk and like Alamo Drafthouse, where you have like dinner and a show.
You could wear ice skates to this movie theater. It's like, all right,
even like,
shit.
You know, the chain AMC stuff has like the reclining seats, which is like, you know, I like them, but
it was funny because it's hilarious. I feel like over the years now those seats are super ratty. Like when I go into, like they were super cool like 5-10 years ago almost, and now I go in like, oh, the cup holder here is ripped out. Because it must be super expensive. It must be so hard to maintain those things that are you know, they're like the pleather on it is just ripped up. Does this button work on these? It's kind of like but.
The theater experience that I cherish and the one that I appreciated most is the one that like movie studios, especially in recent memory, are going the furthest out of their way to fucking kill, which is to say the repertory theater experience, the theater experience of going to a midnight movie and seeing a movie that came out in 1986 on the big screen for the first time in 20-25 years. You know, like I'm not just saying art house cinema. I'm saying like the theater experience for films that are no longer the theater films in theaters that weekend, you know, like the bringing back the old stuff and giving people that, you know, that theater experience for stuff that maybe they just weren't even born when it came out. Like that's the stuff that I really enjoyed. And, you know, companies like Disney especially have gone very far out of their way, especially since they bought 20th Century Fox, to make sure that shit never gets to happen again. And if that's the attitude they're taking, and all we're going to be able to get down the road is a slightly reworked version of the old commercial theater experience, where maybe they take a couple of ideas from the Alamo Drafthouse and just be like, oh yeah, we'll deliver beer in the middle of the fucking Kevin James movie you're watching. Then no, I don't need that shit back. And it's not worth the health risk that certain filmmakers and studios seem to really want to push on people. I'm looking at you, Christopher Nolan. What the fuck are you doing? Stop trying to fucking put that shit in theaters. Just let it go.
Christopher Nolan's overrated. I've said it like once. I'll say it again. He's overrated. His movies are too long. They're not as smart as you think they are. Anyway, I am absolutely not advocating for like opening up theaters in a health crisis. Like, no. But yeah, I also agree. I like a curated movie experience. That's like, here is stuff that's coming out now, but also here is a run of our favorite movies from the 80s or whatever it is. I mean, it's like a boring example, but I do like those curated movie experiences.
one more question.
Okay. On that note, Alex, will you read this one from? Wait, what, Vinny?
Oh, I was laughing at that. That one really took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
All right.
Alex, will you read this one from Dan? Please?
Sure thing. Dan says, my question is, have you found that your taste in game genres has changed through the years? I've been gaming for about 35 years now, and I've seen shifts every so many years or months in the types of games I'm finding myself enjoying the most. Or do you think the game genres you like the most come and go in phases? I love JRPGs in my teens, fell off in my adult life, then suddenly took a liking to them again later on in your life. This definitely applies to me as I find myself really enjoying newer JRPGs once again. I also cannot help but wonder if the genres I'm liking most end up fitting around my life at the time. I've got more time now that my kids have grown and moved away from home versus kids in the house or a job that takes up a lot of time.
Genres.
I mean, I'll say for my part, absolutely. Like when I was younger, I played a lot of shooters. I played a lot of action games. I played a few RPGs, but most of them were, like of the Zelda variety as opposed to like the Final Fantasy variety. And, I played some sports and driving games, but I didn't really branch out too much beyond that. Like I was not really a PC gamer because I rarely had a computer that was good enough to play most like good PC games that weren't just like DOS stuff. And, as I've gotten older, I've wanted to branch out more into some of those genres that are very PC centric, are not as available on consoles. And some of that stuff has taken hold. Like, 10 years ago, I didn't give a shit about 4X games. I never really played them. And then, Civ 5 got its hooks into me, and now it's a nightmare haunting my every waking moment. JRPGs are not a genre I've really spent a great deal of time in. I've played a few of the big ones, but for the most part, never really enjoyed them. And then at some point, I played Persona 4, and that one kind of got me. And then I played all of Persona 5, and that one got me too, in a way. There are things definitely to criticize about those games, but I enjoyed playing them, and I gave them a lot more time than I ever found myself able to give to a lot of other games in that genre.
Wow.
RPGs, I wish I had more time. I have very fond memories of being able to sit during summer vacation and play Western RPGs and JRPGs because it was at a time where you had the one game, you had off from school, and you just sit and you play through that whole thing. And that is probably, maybe I'm willing to say, more of a fondness for the time of my life than maybe the game genre, but I just don't have the time, so I don't play them as much. And now a lot of RPGs have mixed action RPG elements. They're a little shorter. You get your RPG stuff from other places, but I think I've tried to dabble in a lot of different genres over the years. It's a cop out to say I think I just try to go where the good games are, and I'll try anything. I'm trying to think of a genre that I just don't. Like football sims are not things that, like those soccer and football sim stuff. I don't really go towards. But if somebody told me one were great, I'd try it. Growing up on the PC, on like the Commodore, and you played the games that were that somebody pirated and got for you. Like you not being able to choose your genre that really puts you in a place where you are just playing whatever and kind of introducing. I played a lot of flight simulators. I played a lot of, stuff that was just like 7 games come on this pirated disc that, somebody just gave me. You just play whatever's on there. You don't know any better.
I think for me, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't care about stories in games so much. I feel like it's not the games I played. I played like my favorite games I remember growing up was like WarioWare, was like Animal Crossing. A lot of things that were like, this is maybe a brief playing experience, and there wasn't necessarily an expectation to finish it. And then I think as I've gotten older, I have finished more games, and obviously I have more with this job too. But even before I got this job, I was like finishing games regularly. I think it was actually Red Dead Redemption that got me to be like, oh, this is what like a narrative game is. This is what games can also be. It's not just like have fun shooting stuff or have fun, playing basketball in like Wii Sports Resort. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I remember when I first played Red Dead Redemption, I think I tried to skip all the cutscenes, and then I was like, what the fuck?
Oh no.
And then it didn't stick with me obviously because I didn't play that long, and I was just like, whatever, this game seems weird. And then I went back to it and I was like, oh, I see what this is trying to do now. So I think I go for story more now, and I think I also actually want to see it through to the end Whereas before, I don't think I cared, or I at least wasn't playing games where that was like relevant. If that makes sense.
Right, you were there for the gameplay and not what the
it's like I was playing
was.
The Sims.
Yeah.
I was playing Animal Crossing. It was like stuff like that. That's like you can play as long as you want for a long time, but it's like you can't beat it.
Right. Jeff, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just think I had always remembered myself trying out a lot of stuff, but I had this sort of completely unfounded reservation against pretty much any RPG for whatever reason. I was just like turned off by like the numbers, I think.
Like health number, or just like the spreadsheet,
yeah, just like
quality?
The sheer volume of numbers.
Yeah, just like numbers, didn't want to have to like spin plates and worry about that stuff, because I just, I was nascent, didn't know any better. So that obviously has changed many, many, many years ago. And that's really it. I don't really see myself gravitating towards anything specific anymore. I feel like I can't solve it, but there is a certain sort of formula that I'm sure is at play that really, locks in when a game speaks to me. But, I think for the most part, there's really, now nothing that I'm, adverse to trying out. So I feel like I hit a certain level in my life where like my all of my tastes kind of just blended together and was just like, okay, let's see what we got.
You think if I dropped the JRPG in front of you? And
I think if enough people were like, "Hey,
okay, sure,"
I think maybe that a little bit of that has to come into play. But I don't know, now where you have to select what you want to play and you have to be picky about that
time
kind
is
of
very
stuff.
limited.
Perhaps I wouldn't jump to that one first, but yeah.
All right, I think that was only 2 questions. Let's do one more question, then get out of here.
One more.
Yeah, sorry. One more.
Okay. This was a question Jeff loved. So, Vinny, will you read this one from Burton?
Sure will. I'm curious about your grocery habits, especially in quarantine. Pre-quarantine, I would go to the grocery store 2 to 3 times a week and only bought food for a day or two. I'm going to read it. Pre-quarantine, I would go to the grocery store 2 to 3 times a week, only bought food for a day or two. But since March, I only go once a week and get groceries for the week for my wife and I. Since that time, our weekly grocery hauls have been pretty much the same, with us eating mostly the same meals. So, I was curious, do you typically stick to the same food from week to week? Do you try to add variety? Or is it more impulse and just get whatever sounds good while you shop? Thanks. That comes from Burton from Utah. I think I will say, we're just talking pre-quarantine, and now I'm not going to go through my entire shopping habits throughout my life because they have varied and been different. So our CSAs and stuff that we subscribe to here for deliveries, they vary the food they deliver sometimes, and so we get some variety in those, and those have mostly. I think most of those have kept going. I think one paused for a little bit. So we got a mix of vegetables, and we got we subscribe to it.
What's CSA?
It's basically like community driven and usually local food that is picked and grown locally, and then
really.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that. That's cool.
Is it like a farmer's market type of thing?
Yeah, kind of, but they deliver it to you, or they could. Yeah. But yeah, so we have 2 of them. One is. I don't want to promote it by name because it's weird and I didn't do my research into it and I don't want to say it, but one is I will just say the general thing that I kind of like about it. It's stuff that was it's vegetables that were deemed no good for the store because they don't look
it's like
right.
ugly veggies.
Yes.
I've heard about these.
Yeah, it is not that, but it is like that. And I really like that one because you get really weird things like weird carrots and like split into weird things. And
like
then
a carrot that looks like the number 5 or something.
And I like that one too because other veggie CSAs I've done in the past, it would just be 4 tons of kale and then like a veggie that I'm like, okay, this is good. But then it's just like, I'm tired of kale. And then there's a meat one we go to that has locally grown.
How'd you find this? Sign me up for one.
Well, yeah, I bet you're not too far away from me. Like as the crow flies, traffic-wise, you're a million hours away from me.
Yes.
But I
by helicopter, we're nothing. Yeah.
I could send it over. Anyway, there's that. So that supplements our grocery shopping, and we do grocery shopping. I think probably every 2 weeks, and we buy. We have a family. We buy kind of loaves of bread, a lot of eggs. We also have a family friend who has a Costco membership, and they're super nice, and they were once in a while just unload the stuff on our porch, which was super nice. So you wind up with like 48 eggs, like awesome, thank you, which is very, very nice of them. They are very
Costco
near and dear
scared the
to us.
shit out of me.
Costco, Costco is like a fever dreams I used to have as a kid. I used to have fever dreams as a kid of gigantic planets colliding into each other. That would when I'd get fevers, used to have those dreams. I don't know why, but the scale and the imagine being like a tiny thing as a gigantic planet would crash into another planet, and it would, I don't know why. And Costco walking through those, and those aisles are like, look at the size of this like laundry detergent. It's too big. The scale's all off.
I've never been to Costco.
It's like
Oh my
mayonnaise
gosh.
served in a keg. It's like
Ew.
insane. Like,
It's
love
gallons of
mayonnaise.
anything.
the carts are also insanely oversized too, because everything they sell is so massively huge. I mean, it really is for like just families who have 15 people in their family, is what I can really gather. Because it's like you can't go in there and be like, I'm gonna buy food. You buy food for like a party you're having or something like that.
Or you just
know.
finished the bunker, and you're like, okay, now go to Costco because I need 120 cans of cream of mushroom soup in a can, and where else am I gonna get that? Anyway, so my grocery shopping habits, to answer the question, supplemented by CSA stuff, and also probably about. Should ask my wife. She's the one who's been going. You pick who goes out to leave the house, so you're going to isolate who's going out, whatever. She's been doing it. She might be like, no, I'm out there once a week, but I think it's every 2 weeks. Sorry, didn't mean to eat up all the time on that.
No, that's fine. I don't think I have an interesting answer. I will say before quarantine, I was bad habit, I know, bad use of my money, I know, but I was eating out for all of my lunches at work. I very rarely packed a lunch. Occasionally I would bring over leftovers. So honestly, I think I got groceries less than I get them now. Now I probably get them once, maybe twice a week, because I'm eating all of my meals at home pretty much. And also I think folks need to realize, like, I live in New York. I don't have a car. So I got to carry it back and forth from the grocery. So it's like what I can carry.
That's what I was going to say. Like,
and usually a shoulder bag.
Other parts of my life, it was like every 2 days. You walk by the store.
Yeah.
Like when you're walking by the store, you grab the food for the day or two.
Yes.
Right.
And like when I was going out more regularly, it would be like, okay, I'm getting off at home from work. Let me pick some stuff up. As far as my like, I am not good at cooking. I hate cooking. I'm bad at it, which means I'm bad at shopping for food. Usually how it goes is I go through waves of like, this is a thing that I make and eat all the time. And right now for me, that is I buy fake, I buy like vegetarian beef, ground beef. And then I make a little like taco salad, basically. I put some lettuce in, put the veggie beef, put some salsa and some cheese, and I eat it up, and it's pretty good. And that's like the thing I'm eating all the time. And it's usually like PB&J I'm always getting, and like fruit and snacky stuff, but I don't eat a lot, to be honest.
I'm gonna share something with you. I do. I eat too much. I am the worst thing for leftovers in this house, because it is like the biggest thing was like having kids that are like, I'm full, and be like, are you sure?
Yeah, I'll finish all that.
Here we go.
I feel like my thing as like an adult who lives alone, who like, because it's hard to buy food for when you're just cooking for yourself.
Yes.
It's like such a challenge to eat leftovers before they go gross.
Cooking.
I agree.
Cooking for one person is very hard. Like all recipes are mostly like, this serves 4, and you're like, okay.
What do I do with this?
What do I do with this?
Especially when like usually one person's portion is like, I probably want to eat a full portion. Like I feel like I will get like Velveeta mac and cheese, my favorite. Check out my mailing list. I like that is like 4 meals for me.
Whoa,
so it's like
1 box.
Oh yeah, 1 box is like 4 meals.
Oh
probably.
Man, that's I'm envious.
That's an appetizer.
That's like I'm 2 boxes at the minimum in that thing, and just
my god.
No, I'm saying, for the family, but I am.
Oh sure.
But then the question comes up: who gets the pot leftovers, right? Who goes up to that? Oh man, Jeff.
We've been very lucky recently being able to order through one of the delivery services. So that's how we've been doing it since the lockdown kind of started. Yeah, we did do a bunch of like farm runs though. There's a farm that you've convinced me is a bad idea to name, but in maybe like 25 minutes north of us here, that they were doing, order online, drive up here, and we'll put it in your trunk. So we did that a few times, and that was really nice to get a bunch of fresh stuff. But then when the delivery service became more functional and reliable, we kind of just switched over to that. But I like switching it up. I like going to different shopping stores. I like going to like a Trader Joe. Like we try and do it once a week. I would go to like a Trader Joe's, and then the next week maybe do delivery, and then the week after that go to a different one. The thing that in the email question that really spoke to me though was like, it's insane how if you just do grocery stuff, you just kind of like hit the buy everything again thing just because it's easy. And like for me, especially when I was living in Hoboken, going to the store was like this huge effort. If you didn't have a car, it was like this massive pain in the ass. And to get those 3 hours back just by hitting a button that says like do it, it was amazing. Like I would pay $20 for that just in itself. So I like to change things up. I do like to go into the store just because let me walk down every aisle and see what's going on here. There's cool shit coming out all the time that you don't even know about, and you don't really get to see that as well just ordering, through the online thing. But I always err on the side of convenience a lot.
I do miss that. I miss going by like the fish aisle and stuff like that, and just being like, oh, that looks cool, like let's just try this. Like let's just try
especially like fish. Butchers. Like I love going to a butcher, like a separate kind of butcher store and seeing what they got. But that stuff's opening up back now again, and we're gonna do it.
Alex, you'll probably relate to some of this, but it was when I was living in San Francisco. I think it's a Clement Street. The market's on there. Yeah. Like just walking down the market. I live close there. Walking down the market, you could pop into any of those and just be blown away. But like, I have never seen this food before. I was gonna get this fresh, whatever this beheaded thing was right here, and let's just try this.
One of the great joys, I'd say, of living in Queens these days is that you can definitely just walk one block and then you've got a whole, segment of different, butcher shops and markets. And then you walk a different block. It's a completely different one. Like it's the sheer variety you get, even at like the main grocery store. Like there's a grocery store here called Food Bazaar that has like an incredible selection of different international foods that are that way bigger than you will ever find in any mainstream, like giant market.
I remember seeing it was just a congealed block of blood, and I was like, okay, I'm not exactly sure.
Like blood soup and stuff?
I don't know. I was like,
probably
blood sausage.
I remember asking what, like, how do you use this? What, I didn't buy it, but I was like, well, how do you use this? What do you use this in? And did not fully understand the answer, so I just kind of left that one there and was like, all right, we'll go get something else. Alex, anything you want to add to the grocery?
Not really. My habits before the lockdown were go grocery shopping every 3 to 4 weeks, and my current grocery habits are go grocery shopping every 3 to 4 weeks. We maybe stock up a little heavier on certain
weeks.
That's a long time.
How?
Yeah, we buy a bunch at once. I have a car.
Canned foods?
I have a car.
Yeah, but what stays good for 4 weeks?
I mean, we buy fresh stuff that is intended for the first week, but then we have a lot of canned goods. We do like we find a way to, like, if we need to go out and get like supplement fresh foods, like there's a market like 2 blocks down we can just walk to. Nice. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, there was an odd thing I realized too when I had to go buy, when you're moving around apartments, and I know this is different in different parts of the country and especially in different parts of the world. Not a lot. Where is it? It's different in LA, I think. So if anybody here lived in LA, let me know. In New York, usually you move in and the fridge comes with the apartment. And I know some places don't do that you buy your own appliances for the apartment. But I didn't realize until I bought a fridge that food keeps better in a good fridge. Like it can keep longer.
Just like in The Sims.
It kind of can keep a little longer in like a good fridge. So we had, living in New York apartments and cheaper apartments and stuff like that, was like, man, food lasts like 3 days. Like this thing is wilted and gone. And now I have like vegetables that will last a week or a week and a half, and be like, man, this is like, it's like a time capsule in here.
Wow.
So yeah,
cool.
I know. It blew my mind too. All right, should we? Is that it?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, let's get out of here. We're gonna make way for the next batch of folks. I know this podcast probably wasn't super long, but it felt it. I'm gonna go process this. Also, we did this cyberpunk thing earlier, so I've probably been sitting in this chair. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. And I don't know. These are not good times. This is hard. I think we've kind of said everything I needed to at the top of the show. Hopefully, or at least said the stuff. I don't know. My brain is mush now.
Yeah, I would argue that hopefully getting through the shit will lead to better things. You know. Yeah,
I hope so. I'm glad to be here with you folks and kind of at the very least working through it with people I trust. So thank you. Thanks Jeff Bacalar. Thanks Alex Navarro. Thanks Abby. Thanks everybody for listening. Happy birthday if it's your birthday out there. I'm gonna play the music for the outro here because I think we're pretty close to the end. Here we go.
Okay, do that.
Jeff, when's your dog coming back?
I'm sorry?
When's your dog coming back?
My dog coming back?
He was hanging out in the background before.
Yeah, he comes and goes as he pleases. This is
he's his own man.
He's his own man.
We had to put up another fence because of the dog, and the dog. Sometimes you have dogs in the backyard because they just destroyed my wife's garden and our garden. And speaking of loving dogs, boy, I love them. Gotta love them. Love them so much. Just my wife had a tree that has taken 3 years to try get to the point, and it's gone now. That 3 years, and it pollinates the other tree. We bought them as saplings, and it pollinates the other tree. So now that other tree won't bear fruit for another 5 years. It's awesome. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this week's show. Thanks again, Abby. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff Bacalar. Thanks everybody for listening. Be good to each other out there. Tough times, but hopefully we'll all get through it. We'll figure out a path forward. We're trying to make this space a better space. One day at a time. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week.